We had no idea what was going on before, and we're devastated.
I felt so bad because I wasn't in their lives so much. I wasn't in their lives a lot. It came down to this to happen, and I just feel so bad.
And
I would never touch that little girl. I loved her more than I loved myself.
This is the only case in my practice where a child on life support was bleeding from the anus. Those were the haunting words of Dr. Philip Hayden, a physician with 25 years of experience treating abuse victims. What he witnessed that day in May 2011 would shatter his understanding of human cruelty. A 3-year-old girl named Sophia Marie Acosta lay dying, her tiny body bearing wounds so horrific that seasoned investigators would need counseling. The monster responsible? Someone her own mother had welcomed into their home. Some people scroll by. You didn't. That means you care. Before we uncover this devastating truth together, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Subscribing is free, but it helps uncover the next hidden case, before it happens again. Your engagement could be the reason another story finally gets heard. May 6, 2011. Mooney Grove Park in Visalia, California. Golden sunlight filters through the trees as 3-year-old Sophia Marie Acosta giggles with pure joy. She's wearing her favorite dress, the one that makes her feel like a real princess. Her dark eyes sparkle with innocence as she runs across the grass, not knowing that in less than 24 hours, she would be fighting for her life in a hospital bed. This would be one of the last times anyone would see Sophia truly happy. The next day, May 7th, at exactly 2:43 p.m., a 911 dispatcher received a call that would haunt her for years. Through sobs and panic, a woman's voice screamed, "My daughter isn't breathing. She's only 3 years old. Please, you have to help us." When paramedics rushed into apartment number 9 at the Exeter Apartments complex, they discovered a scene from hell itself. The same little girl who had been laughing in the park just yesterday now lay motionless on the living room floor. Sophia was naked, wet, and barely clinging to life. Blood stained the towel beneath her tiny body. At Kauai Delta Hospital, emergency room doctors immediately knew this was no accident. What they found would remain burned into their memories forever. 3-year-old Sophia had blood flowing from her eyes, her mouth, and her genitals. Dr. Philip Hayden, despite his quarter-century of experience with abuse cases, had never seen anything like it. The internal injuries were so severe, so deliberate, that even hardened medical professionals broke down in tears. For 4 agonizing days, Sophia fought with every ounce of strength her little body possessed. Machines breathed for her while her family prayed desperately for a miracle that would never come. During those endless hours, her great-grandfather Sam Coronado made a heartbreaking decision. He would attend every single court hearing alone, over 100 days in total, to shield the rest of the family from the unbearable details of what had been done to their precious Sophia. Meanwhile, the man responsible was already spinning his web of lies. When detectives confronted Christopher Cheary, a 25-year-old with cold, calculating eyes, his denials came swift and rehearsed.
Did you kill Sophia?
No.
Did you beat her?
I've never laid hands on Sophia to harm her.
Did you molest Sophia?
No. I would never, ever touch Sophia. I loved her more than anything.
But love doesn't leave a 3-year-old bleeding from every orifice. Love doesn't fracture a child's skull or tear apart their innocence. What Christopher Cheary did to Sophia wasn't love, it was pure, calculated evil. Let me take you back to the beginning, to understand how this beautiful child ended up in the hands of a monster. February 5, 2008. In the quiet town of Exeter, California, Sophia Marie Acosta entered the world to parents Erica Smith and Obi Acosta. Both were young, just 20 years old, filled with dreams and hopes for their firstborn daughter. Obi worked long-haul trucking routes while Erica stayed home, completely devoted to baby Sophia. From her first breath, Sophia was special. Not because she possessed extraordinary talents, but because she had an almost magical ability to bring joy to everyone around her. Her smile could light up the darkest room. Her laugh was infectious. When Obi returned from his long trucking routes, he was always amazed at how much his little princess had grown, how her personality was blossoming like a flower reaching toward sunlight. In August 2009, when Sophia was 18 months old, her sister Alexa was born. Rather than feeling jealous, Sophia immediately embraced her role as big sister with a maturity that surprised everyone. She would share her toys without being asked, comfort baby Alexa when she cried, and include her in every game and adventure. The bond between the sisters was extraordinary. Sophia became Alexa's fierce protector and best friend. A sunny child, that's how extended family members described Sophia. She possessed an innate sweetness that drew people to her like a magnet. Whether she was coloring pictures, playing dress-up, or simply sitting quietly, Sophia radiated warmth and love. But tragedy has a way of creeping into even the happiest families. By early 2010, the pressures of young parenthood and financial struggles began tearing Erica and Obi apart. Their marriage crumbled, and Obi moved 40 miles away to Livingston. The divorce was finalized with Erica receiving full custody, while Obi was granted weekend visitation rights. However, a trucker's schedule doesn't follow court orders. Obi's visits became sporadic, then rare. His grandfather, Sam Coronado, stepped in to provide financial support, but the emotional void in Sophia's life grew larger each day. Despite everything, Erica tried her best. She immersed herself in work while caring for both girls, taking them to parks on weekends and ensuring they felt loved. During this period, Sophia's vibrant personality continued to bloom. She spent countless hours with her great-grandmother Ruth Williams, who absolutely adored the little girl. "I remember her sleeping in my bed with me, holding my hand," Ruth recalled through tears. She'd say, "Nana, I love you, Nana." She never wanted to go home. She was at my house every single day, until he showed up. September 2010 marked the beginning of the end for Sophia's peaceful world. That's when Christopher Cheary, a 19-year-old with a criminal past and a heroin addiction, moved into apartment number 9 with Erica and her daughters. Erica, only 23 and struggling with her own drug issues, convinced herself she could save Christopher from his addiction. How tragically naive that decision would prove to be. A young mother of 2 small children thought she could rehabilitate a violent drug addict. The warning signs were there from day one, but love, or perhaps desperation, made her blind to them. Christopher's arrival transformed their home from a place of laughter into a prison of fear. The first demand he made was chilling in its audacity: both girls had to call him Dad. But Sophia and Alexa weren't fooled. They already had a father, and this stranger who brought darkness into their home was nothing like the daddy they remembered. When the girls refused to use the title he demanded, Christopher's response was swift and brutal. He began beating Erica regularly, choking her, slamming her against walls, using any excuse to unleash his rage. But the most terrifying part was his reasoning. He was punishing the mother because her children wouldn't call him Dad. The transformation in Sophia was immediate and heartbreaking. The bright, confident little girl began withdrawing into herself. Her babysitter, Carly Vega, noticed the change right away. Sophia, who had once been so open and cheerful, became anxious and fearful. Most disturbing of all, she started saying, "Please don't tell my dad," referring to Christopher. Carly witnessed Christopher's discipline firsthand, spankings that were far too hard, rough play that crossed every boundary. When she tried to speak to Erica about her concerns, the young mother refused to listen. Denial is a powerful drug, and Erica was already dependent on several substances. Another babysitter began noticing bruises under Sophia's eyes. The little girl constantly complained that her bottom hurt. These weren't isolated incidents, they were a pattern, a crescendo of abuse building toward an inevitable, horrific conclusion. In March 2011, 18-month-old Alexa suffered a broken leg. Christopher's explanation was that they'd been at a playground and the toddler had twisted her leg on a slide. But doctors examining the injury said it looked more like the result of a deliberate act, a fall caused by force, not play. Think about this, a broken leg in a toddler, constantly changing stories, an older sister covered in bruises and complaining of pain. Yet somehow, no one in authority questioned whether these children were safe. The system designed to protect the most vulnerable among us failed Sophia at every crucial moment. Meanwhile, neighbors noticed something deeply troubling. After Christopher moved in, the family virtually disappeared from community life. They rarely came outside, isolating themselves in apartment number 9. This is classic domestic violence behavior, cutting victims off from potential help, making them invisible to the outside world. For Sophia, every day became a survival test. The princess dresses stayed in the closet. The coloring books gathered dust. The infectious laughter was replaced by fearful silence. She was learning to navigate a world where the wrong word or action could trigger explosive violence. May 6, 2011, was different. For one precious day, the family ventured out to Mooney Grove Park in Visalia. Sophia got to be a little girl again, running and playing in the sunshine. It was a brief respite from the nightmare that had become her daily existence. Nobody knew these would be among the last happy moments of her short life. The next morning, May 7, Sophia woke up for the final time. She was 3 years, 2 months, and 2 days old. The day began with shouting. Erica and Christopher were fighting again. The exact topic of their argument would be lost to time, but Erica knew from experience that when Christopher was angry, he became especially dangerous. In a decision that would haunt her forever, Erica chose to leave her 3-year-old and 18-month-old daughters alone with an enraged Christopher Cheary while she traveled to Visalia to buy $20 to $30 worth of heroin. She took 2 buses, leaving her babies in the hands of a man she knew was violent, all for the temporary escape that drugs provided. When Erica returned around noon, she and Christopher used the heroin together. Afterward, in a grotesque parody of normal family life, Christopher made Sophia a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and took both girls upstairs for a nap. Erica, exhausted from her drug run and high from the heroin, fell asleep downstairs. Christopher had other plans for those quiet afternoon hours. What happened next in that upstairs bedroom was so depraved, so unthinkably cruel, that it defies comprehension. Christopher Cheary, fueled by drugs and unchecked evil, decided to sexually assault a 3-year-old child. When tiny Sophia tried to scream, tried to resist, he punched her hard in the abdomen. The blow was devastating, more than enough to knock a small child unconscious. While her mother slept peacefully downstairs, Sophia endured unimaginable torture. But the monster wasn't finished with his evil. When Sophia regained consciousness and weakly called out for her mother, Christopher realized she could expose what he had done. In his twisted logic, that sealed her fate. He delivered a series of brutal blows to her head, then grabbed her small skull and slammed it against the floor with savage force. He might have killed her right then, but he heard movement from Erica's bedroom. Suddenly panicking, Christopher screamed, "Erica! Something's wrong with Sophia." Erica rushed upstairs to find her 3-year-old daughter lying motionless on the nursery floor. Sophia was unconscious, covered in vomit, with only one eye partially open. The little princess who had brought joy to everyone around her now lay dying, a victim of unimaginable cruelty at the hands of a man her mother had welcomed into their home. The 911 call came at 2:43 p.m. Erica's voice, shaking with panic and terror, pleaded for help. "My daughter isn't breathing. She's only 3 years old. Please help us." While the terrified mother was on the phone with emergency services, Christopher was busy trying to cover his tracks. He carried unconscious Sophia to the bathroom and quickly washed her tiny body. This wasn't an act of care or concern, it was a calculated attempt to destroy evidence of his horrific crimes. When paramedics burst through the door of apartment number 9, they encountered a scene that would stay with them for the rest of their careers. Sophia lay on the living room floor, placed on a towel, tiny and naked and wet. Christopher stood nearby, his demeanor nervous and fearful. Outside, Erica was crying hysterically. The little girl was immediately rushed to Kauai Delta Hospital in Visalia. The moment emergency room staff began their examination, they knew this was no ordinary accident. Experienced nurses, who had seen countless tragedies, couldn't hold back their tears. When Sophia was moved from the ambulance stretcher to the hospital bed, there was blood underneath her small body. But the most horrifying discoveries came during the medical examination. 3-year-old Sophia had bleeding from her genitals, her eyes, and her mouth. She had bruises covering her abdomen and buttocks. Her head trauma was so severe that her brain was swelling rapidly. The injuries painted a clear picture of deliberate torture and sexual assault. Sophia's condition was so critical that she was immediately airlifted to Children's Hospital Central California in Madera, a facility equipped to handle the most serious pediatric cases. While a team of doctors fought desperately to save her life, detectives began processing the crime scene at apartment number 9. What they found in that small apartment made even experienced investigators need counseling. The bed in the children's room was soaked with blood. Sophia's blanket was covered with vomit and feces. Downstairs in the living room, they discovered a suspicious pile of pillows and blankets, some stained with dried blood. But the most damning evidence was yet to come. When the apartment complex custodian came to clean after police had finished their work, he made a discovery that confirmed everyone's worst fears: a condom wrapper and what he described as a sex toy, both found in the children's bedroom. Laboratory tests on Sophia's blood revealed traces of marijuana. A 3-year-old child had been exposed to drugs in her own home, adding another layer of neglect to an already horrific situation. At Children's Hospital, a team of specialists worked around the clock to save Sophia's life. An MRI revealed catastrophic damage to her brain, injuries so severe that recovery would be impossible. For 4 days, this brave little girl fought with every ounce of strength she possessed, connected to machines that breathed for her and pumped blood through her tiny body. On May 11, 2011, at 7:20 p.m., the inevitable decision was made. With her father Obi holding her small hand, the life support machines were turned off. Sophia Marie Acosta, who was only 3 years, 2 months, and 6 days old, died from injuries inflicted by a monster her mother had brought into their home. The autopsy results were as devastating as they were conclusive. Cause of death: multiple blunt force trauma. Sophia had died from skull fractures, massive brain hemorrhage, oxygen deprivation, and sexual assault. Every medical expert who examined the evidence agreed on one horrifying fact: this 3-year-old child had been tortured and sexually abused before her death. For an entire month after Sophia's murder, Christopher Cheary walked free. He told anyone who would listen his fabricated version of events, even giving interviews to local television stations. His story was that Sophia had accidentally hit her head on a small metal shopping cart next to the bed. "I was exactly right at the head of her bed on the floor where her head was," he claimed with practiced innocence. "She was still wrapped in the blanket and everything. So it seemed like she had rolled off or fell somehow. I would honestly give my life for that little girl to be alive. I would gladly switch positions with Sophia in a heartbeat." The performance was Oscar-worthy, but investigators weren't buying it. On June 3, 2011, Christopher Cheary was finally arrested and charged with 1 count of murder with special circumstances of torture, sodomy, and lewd and lascivious acts. He was also charged with assault of a child causing death, sodomy, and forcible lewd acts on a child. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed, I'm honestly curious, what's holding you back? Drop it in the comments. I actually want to know. Stories like Sophia's need to be told, and your subscription helps ensure they reach the people who need to hear them. When the case finally went to trial in 2016, 5 long years after Sophia's death, the courtroom became a stage for revealing just how many people had known about the danger but done nothing to help. 2 babysitters had witnessed the abuse. A neighbor had seen the warning signs. Most heartbreaking of all, Sophia's own mother had known about Christopher's violent tendencies but chose to ignore them. When Erica Smith finally took the witness stand, her testimony shocked even veteran attorneys. She admitted that Christopher regularly abused her, describing incidents of choking, being thrown against walls, having picture frames hurled at her, and enduring constant verbal abuse that made her feel worthless. There were times where he choked me out and pushed me against the wall, she testified. There were times that he threw picture frames at me. There were times of just verbal abuse, belittling me, secluding me, making me feel worthless. But then came the most incredible part of her testimony. Despite knowing all of this, she claimed she trusted Christopher with her children and saw no reason to think otherwise. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. A woman who admitted her boyfriend regularly tried to kill her somehow believed he was safe with her toddlers. Christopher's defense team desperately tried to find alternative explanations for Sophia's death. They claimed she had a rare blood clotting disorder. They suggested the injuries could have been caused by paramedics during resuscitation attempts. They pointed out that no fresh blood was found in the apartment and that Christopher's DNA wasn't recovered from Sophia's body. But medical experts methodically destroyed each defense argument. More than 10 doctors testified that Sophia's injuries were consistent with extreme physical and sexual abuse. The prosecution pointed out the obvious: Sophia had been wet when she was found because Christopher had washed away the evidence in the bathroom before help arrived. The evidence was overwhelming, the testimony was damning, and the jury had heard enough. On November 14, 2016, after intense deliberation, the 12 jurors returned their verdict, guilty on all charges. On January 31, 2017, Judge Joseph Kalashin officially sentenced Christopher Cheary to death. The monster who had tortured and murdered 3-year-old Sophia Marie Acosta was sent to death row at San Quentin State Prison. But even this wasn't the end of the injustice. In 2019, California Governor Gavin Newsom imposed a moratorium on the death penalty, effectively ensuring that Christopher Cheary would never face the ultimate punishment for his heinous crimes. Sophia's family was devastated by this decision. Imagine if it was your child, your sister, or your friend. Would you want their story buried under noise, or told with care? Subscribing helps make sure no child's story fades away. Please, don't let Sophia's memory die in silence. Today, Sophia rests in Winton Cemetery. Her small, closed casket was a heartbreaking symbol of childhood destroyed by an indifferent adult world. The funeral was attended by family members and community members who had been touched by her brief but radiant life. What happened to 18-month-old Alexa, the sister who had witnessed her big sister's final moments? She was taken by Child Protective Services directly from the hospital where she had been brought along with dying Sophia. The custody battle lasted 8 months while Obi fought to prove he was capable of being a father to his remaining daughter. In December 2011, the court finally granted custody of Alexa to her father. By then, she was 2 years old but wasn't speaking. Psychologists diagnosed severe trauma. The little girl had been in that room when Christopher tortured her sister. She had seen or heard things that no child should ever witness. Years of therapy eventually helped Alexa speak again, but nightmares still haunt her dreams. She carries invisible scars that will never fully heal, the price of surviving when her sister couldn't. A children's bench was installed in Farmersville in Sophia's memory. When it was dedicated, Grown-up Alexa and the entire extended family gathered to honor the little girl who had brought so much joy into their lives. And what about Erica Smith, the mother who had left her daughter with a monster? She faced no consequences for her choices. While she lost custody of Alexa, she was never charged with child endangerment or neglect. The district attorney deemed her a victim rather than an accomplice, a decision that many believe represented a grave miscarriage of justice. This took me hours of painful research, reading autopsies, police files, and the cries of mothers that were ignored. If you felt safe watching from your screen, the least you can do is hit that red subscribe button. Help me continue telling these stories that matter. Sophia's story isn't just a tragedy, it's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like someone's boyfriend, someone's partner, someone who seems normal on the surface but hides darkness underneath. The warning signs were all there: a man with a criminal past and drug addiction moving in with young children, unexplained injuries, behavioral changes in the children, visible fear, isolation from extended family and community. Each sign alone might not have triggered intervention, but together they painted a clear picture of escalating danger. If stories like this make you want to protect the innocent and expose the truth, then don't just watch. Subscribe. Share this video. Comment below with your thoughts and your commitment to protecting children in your own community. That single click could be the reason another story finally gets heard, another child gets saved. We owe it to Sophia's memory to be better. We owe it to every child in danger to speak up when we see the signs. We owe it to ourselves to create a world where 3-year-old princesses get to grow up and live their dreams instead of becoming victims of unimaginable evil. Rest in peace, little angel Sophia Marie Acosta. Your story will not be forgotten. Your light will continue to shine through everyone who hears your name and vows to do better. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for helping keep Sophia's memory alive. Please subscribe to Cold Crime Cases, like this video, and share it with others who need to hear this story. Together, we can make sure that no more children suffer in silence while the adults around them look the other way. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay caring, and never stop fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves.